Linus, you've worked with Emerald Fennell before on Saltburn, which is another
Mhm.
incredible looking movie. And I'd love to know kind of what your reaction was when she came to you with this. Like, she comes and says, I'm adopting Wuthering Heights, and I want you to do the cinematography for it. Is that like daunting at all at first, given that it's such a well-known book and the visuals have so much to do with telling the story? Or is that like a challenge that just makes you excited to dive in and get started?
I think for some reason, I think the book, I guess it's a mandatory read in like England and maybe in the States as well, or everyone reads this book. Actually, in Sweden, where I'm from, a lot of people have read the book, but it wasn't like we read it in school, so I hadn't actually read it. And so when she told me about it, I was obviously very excited to work with her again because I mean she's just gonna do great films. I think I love working with her. She's amazing to work with, and I think she's a great storyteller, and she always has a twist. And I think in this case, I was excited to obviously read the script, and I wanted to because it was very important. I mean, she said it wasn't like, I mean, she said that she wanted to make a film that was because it has apparently the book is has more than the film, and it depends on which part of the story how you tell it. You can tell it in different ways in a way, but so for me, it was more important to sort of listen to her vision and her idea with the film being sort of the greatest love story as she know it ever told, and her take on it was much more important to me than anything else. Like which is always the case. I think it's always the director's vision that matters. And I didn't read the book to sort of get ideas because sometimes that's also confusing because then you remember things and you think that that's in the movie, but that was in the book, and then it's actually quite good to be fresh that way in these situations, I think. But no, I was very excited to do something that she felt was gonna be driven by the really the emotional story and then her sort of images of how she saw the how the house looked like, how everything played out, and the relationship between things, and how people looked, and how the world looked, and it very much comes from her mind, really, um, and evolved from that with the creative team of Susie Davis and me and Jacqueline and everybody. And it was very exciting to work with it. And also, I love the idea that she wanted it to be sort of shot on stage to create the world exact, design it just in a specific way. And the majority of the film, is shot on stage, also exteriors, and they instead the challenge became, for me to first we worked out sort of the visual language and how we should dramatize the visual language, but then to sort of adapt it to being only on stage and still have enough variety or enough intimacy with the characters and the ability to sort of tell the story. But that's the benefit of building, where you can actually build it to the story. So you could have him look at her through those glass windows, or you could on one hand build it as you want, but also they wanted to build it uh, so that you could go in and out without moving walls, that it's like a real house. So it was built like a real house on stage
Oh,
on a sort of a elevated hill where we had weather of rain and snow and thunder, lightning, or wind or fog all the time, sort of available for the different scenes too. Um, but it is about obviously nature and human and the humans in combination, and we wanted to use the weather and those kind of looks from that dramatic landscape, which is already, I'm sure, in the book, why it's situated in that landscape, so you can work dramatically with the emotions of the characters visually. in your mind when you're reading. I guess that is what the story does already.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I felt like, like how you say that when you light the film, right, you kind of paint with light is sort of a saying, but and it was really what we kind of did it with this film, I think, is that usually you're quite restricted in some sort of realism because you have decided that in the morning they wake up, so now it's morning and it's summer because it is summer. But we could take the liberty in this film, we're allowed to take the liberty in this film, that it doesn't matter if it could even have been like night after night or day after day in the scenes, as long as they served the sort of emotions or the other storylines of obsession or sensuality or whatever felt important emotionally for the story should be expressed at a certain level of dramaticness. Like
Yeah.
how far shall we go is a question, or but it was always like, I must say, more allowance for doing what we felt was right with the scenes in terms of emotions and less about reality or realism, while other films would much more feel it, the urge to sort of somewhat compromise between those two in a more subtle way than instead, which could be beautiful too, obviously. But yeah, so we were a little more. Um, Saltburn had the realism, I think, in it, but we played with the sort of baroque language of beauty and ugliness, and that you can depict something in a gorgeous way while it still is really unpleasant to watch, but you can't help yourself because it's irresistible imagery, that kind of combination. And this lives here as well, but I think we went more for looking at each shot almost, really like shot by shot, to do sort of what the romantic painters did with like the landscape and the humans, and how you combine the weather and the light with the characters to sort of dramatize the situation, or enhance the emotions. So like it's raining when they're very intimate. The father is sort of miserable. He's on the horse and he's drunk, and it's raining, which doesn't make that situation better. But at the same time, he has to help her not get rain in her eyes when she looks up at him. It was like something that happened when we rehearsed between Jacob and Margot that was just so sweet and tender. I mean, one thing that they talk to each other and all that, and they could hold each other perhaps, but he's holding his hands over her eyes, right? So she can look at him without getting rain in her eyes, which was just such a beautiful thing of him to do. And it really helped the tenderness of the scene that it was raining. So so that is sort of like our approach in the film all the way through. It's like really following the heart of the story and the characters.
Yeah, totally. I
It's
love it.
really fun because, yeah, it
Yeah.
was super to
So
do.
interesting. So interesting. That
Mm.
is my time. But Linus, thank you so much for
Oh
your time.
no.
And
Okay.
congratulations again on the movie.
Oh, but thank you. Nice to see you.